Hey, it's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm. Well, it's late November now, and my head is already firmly into my next selling season. So my roses are in the greenhouse. I've squared them away and they're ready for next year of selling. But one thing that surprised me in the past couple of seasons of selling is how receptive my customers have been to perennials and shrubs and other plants that I can grow from seed that are really quite uncommon and honestly that very few people have actually heard of. It's exciting for them. They find something that they can't find in the local garden center. And for a backyard nursery, you really need that hook. You really need to get them to stop and look at your booth every single time. So what I wanted to go through in this video really quickly is some of the places that you can find interesting seeds like these, some of the vendors and suppliers, where you can find the information as well about how to start them. And then next I'd take you through the step of stratification, because a lot of these can't just be started quickly in the spring and finished for sale right away. Some of these require that step, and that's why I'm starting in November like this, because I'm gonna have to stratify these probably in my fridge over the winter. So next thing I'll do, I'll show you some of the sites here and where to get some information, and then we'll get back to stratifying these seeds. And I'll begin with a little slideshow here of some of the plants I mean. This one here is Bellum canda chinensis. Also, it could be used as Iris domestica, or the blackberry lily. And it has these beautiful leopard spotted flowers, followed by the seed heads are notable too. They have sort of shiny black seed pods that almost look like blackberries and are held into the fall. So fantastic plant. I've sold a lot of those from the farmer's market. This one here is Trollius urcuticus, and not the best angle, but it's a glowing orange. And if you look down into it, you can see the centers are dark. So very cool Trollius. This one here, Cassia marylandica. It's the yellow one in the front there, and you can see that's quite a tall plant. Native to the east coast of the United States, so fully hardy in many climates. This one here, Dianthus dancingatia. And the flower form is novel, which has caught a lot of my customers by surprise. And honestly, if you can get a good picture or a picture card in front of your customers with these varieties on it, it stops them dead in their tracks and they will shop your table. This one here, Monarda punctata, or spotted bee balm. And Monarda is not all that uncommon amongst perennial selections, but this one here, if you could get in close, you'd see that these are spotted flowers, really fine details on those with that cool lavender color, and it doesn't get powdery mildew the way that other Monardas do. And finally here, oh sorry, not finally, this is Phlomis russelliana. I showed this one in my Division of Perennials video a while back, but I did start it from seed, just the way I'm going to show you here. And now finally, this one is Ceruma henryi. You can see on here that it's got fuzzy foliage, heart-shaped foliage, pale yellow flowers, and it smells like ginger. It has a neat texture or fragrance to it. So neat plant, and the feedback I've gotten from my customers on those has been outstanding. So happy to have that in my selection. So where did I find plants like these? For that, I'm going to click on here, and I'll show you a few different seed sites here that I've referenced. This first one here, sorry, but it's all text-based. That's J.L. Hudson Seedsman down in California. And why I like them a lot, I mean, it is all text-based, not a lot of pictures, which isn't why I like it, but it has its downsides as well. But it has so many different seeds that you can't find pretty much anywhere. It's a seed collection. It does have a bit of an outdated ordering system as well. It's by email and all of that. So it's not quite an online store, but anyway, worth checking them out, if for nothing else, to get some good ideas on it. And the author of the site had some interesting ideas about biodiversity and invasive species. So it's worth browsing through the site, just even for his insights on that. The second one here, and it's probably the one I'll spend the most time on, is Gelito. And Gelito is based in Germany and is my primary source of information for perennial seeds. And notice that all the ones that I had on my previous page there were perennials. I grow shrubs by seed as well. So anything that that is unusual or not common, I'll grow by seed. But here, if you look amongst their perennial seeds, just a massive selection from Gelito. You can see here it goes all the way through the alphabet, and 92 pages, all doubled down like that. So just tons and tons of perennials. And what I love about it is that they don't just have the information about selling the seed, but when you want to start the seed, they have cultural information. So if you scroll down here and you go down to the tab that says cultivation, it will tell you here how many grams of seeds you would need to get 1,000. It talks about how they recommend to start it. This one is a 72 cell tray. And then this one here talks about its germination requirements. So it has detailed germination requirements here. You don't have to go into those specifically until you check a variety, but many of them are considered cold germinators. So meaning that they'll need a winter period to convince the plant that it's ready to start the seeds for spring. One more site before I circle back to Gelito here is Botanically Inclined, and I love this site. I've been buying seeds from them for 3 or 4 years now and never disappointed. They always have a cool selection of interesting plants. Primarily, there's a lot of North American natives here, but also the owner of this site, she seems to specialize a lot in certain families. So you'll find a lot of stuff that are spring ephemerals, a lot of stuff in the Corydalus area, the Papaver family, that kind of thing. So really interesting website. Now I'm going to circle back here. I'm not going to take you too much time here browsing you through my seed shopping here. But I want to show you, the final picture I showed you from my little slideshow there was Seruma henryi. And that's the Gelito picture of the plant, a little more mature. I can see their flower color looked a little deeper than mine, but I may have just caught it at a different stage. Now, one thing when you're shopping Gelito is you need to know that they are European, and so they're selling in euros, which you may have to translate back. And you can, up here, change your unit to US dollars, which would be the closest for me to Canadian dollars. But they say in that little statement that I dodged past that that's not going to be a fully accurate thing until they bill you. And in this case, you're talking about $6.84 for a package of seeds. And a portion of seeds that they're selling here is typically enough to get you approximately 50 plants. So it's not cheap. And I think that's probably somewhere above 10 cents a seed, and you won't get full germination. So if you're going to be selling specialty plants like this, you need to be charging a little more. So if I can sell an annual for $2, I might sell a perennial for $4 in the same size pot. And if I go to a larger pot, again, don't be afraid if you get up to a gallon to be charging, $10 or $8, something a little bit more than you would charge for an easier plant. Go here to cultivation, and this one here says that it's going to need a warm compost or warm germination period, and they talk about with constant humidity or moisture for at least 6 weeks, and then keep cold for another 6 or 8 weeks. And again, that's going to mean moist. So it needs a warm, moist germination period, then a cold, moist germination period. Please don't be freaked out by these sowing instructions. If you follow them step by step, you get a little bit of experience with them. Dead easy, but you do have to give yourself a little bit of time. So in this case, if you want to do the whole cycle, you probably have to start all the way back in October or September to give it a warm period and then a cold period before you can finally germinate the seeds in, say, February, and you time it out to your own climate. All right, that should cover it off for this part. I'm going to go back to the seed table. All right, back to playing with seeds here. Well, if you recall from the plants that I showed you online, one of them was Seruma henryi. And from the instructions that we gathered, it requires a warm period, moist in vermiculite, and then it requires a cold period. Now beautifully, this was actually shipped to us in moist vermiculite. So that first part, that warm stratification period, is done now. And the next thing I want to do is the cold stratification. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to just transfer it into a larger container here. So a little bit of plasticware. I'm going to throw some moist vermiculite. I pre-moistened that into the bottom of the plasticware. Transfer over the seeds. Make sure I get all of them there. And then spread them out. I will label these, close this up, put it into the fridge here, and then I'll be checking on it in the next 6 to 8 weeks just to check and see if anything is starting to germinate. After that, it's a quick transplant in spring. And now I recall from my previous years of experience with this, it maybe didn't size up right away. It was probably not ready for April and May sales, but I did have some available for June and July of the same year of sowing. So that's covers off the issue of stratification and specialty perennials and shrubs. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have any questions, please leave them below.